Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I am David Pendergrass. If you haven't checked it out already, go to davidpendergrass.com and you can look at the top, davidpendergrass.com, and click whatever you want to click. But right now, I'm focusing on click the word that says podcast, and under podcast, it'll take you actually to a couple things. But right now, I'm emphasizing the fact that on that page, you can see a way to follow me on Amazon Alexa, and also you can receive free encouraging texts. If you like encouragement and you like texts, I have the perfect thing for you. Just go to davidpendergrass.com, click on podcast, and you'll see how to do it. It's very easy, and hope you do that. Today, as I'm recording this podcast, it's Mother's Day, and I was thinking this morning during the sermon as our pastor preached on mothers and the gift they are and what it means to have a godly mom in the home and so forth. I thought, again, as I often do on Mother's Day, about common, what's the word I'm looking for? Conditions or problems that moms think they have and sometimes do have. And I want to do this as a form of encouragement to moms out there, whether it be Mother's Day or any day in which you listen to this. David, who do you think you are? You're not a mother. You're right. I am not. I'm not a mother. I do not identify as a mother. I had a mother and I have a mother. I am married to a mother, and I have been around thousands of mothers. I have counseled many mothers. And anybody who's done counseling of women, and particularly mothers, you knows that there are some things that are very much held in common among women, and particularly mothers. And none of these might apply to you. That's okay. But I have a suspicion if you are a mother, or in fact, if you're not a mother, this podcast, if you listen to it, might give you some insight into the mind of a mother. Now, I'm just going to highlight a few things. This is not obviously all exhaustive and so forth. The first thing I'd say is most mothers are convinced at some level, either some days a month or many days a month, that they're failing their children. They have a deep-seated fear that somehow, in some way, they're failing them. And I've met mothers who are very young who have this constant fear and anxiety. I've met very old mothers who are convinced they failed their children. That is, no matter what happened wrong, quote unquote wrong with their children, no matter what bad decision their children made as adults, 40, 50-year-old children, they're still convinced somehow they failed them as a parent, as a mother, particularly. My first encouragement is to say a few things about that, just one particular issue. If you are a mother and you're convinced that you're failing your children, the first thing I'd say is you probably are. That's all. That's in my podcast. God bless you. See you next time. Oh. you probably are, only because guess what? Like the rest of us, you are a mere mortal. There's probably some level, some degree to which, yes, you have failed them. Yeah, you're going to. And guess what, Mama? You have just got to accept the fact and move on with life. Yeah, you're going to fail them. Yeah, you will. Yeah, but failing your children at some level does not mean you have ruined them for life. You've scarred them forever. It doesn't mean that. So what I really do mean is, yes, you probably have failed them. If not, you're going to do it in the future because you're a mere mortal, you're a human, and it will happen. What we need to do is not try to avoid that reality. We need to accept the reality and instead vitiate, or that is to take away the value of the failure. So accept that it occurs. Don't put your head in the sand and go, no, I can't even go there. I can't even think about all the ways I have failed my child. Well, no, yeah, you can think about it. Just take away the fact that you think you are everything to your child. You're not. Your son or daughter's destiny is not up to you. His or her choices in life can and will be influenced by the character, and I'll go there in a second, that you help form, but it's not all on you. So I would, having an obsession about your failing your children is dangerously close to having a Messiah complex, that your child needs you, and all your failures will be a direct causal relationship to all the failure of your children. It's just false. It's just false. So yeah, you're probably going to fail them. Okay, well, so what? The different levels of failure. But the first is that I would take away, it's kind of like people say, I won't give examples. I want to stay focused on this right now. So that's the first thing I'd say is that. The second thing I'd say about failing children is if you are a basically good, decent, loving mother, then you're not tragically failing your child. So just if you could get outside of yourself for a second and think, am I really failing them miserably? Is this fear really legitimate? If it's not, then tell it to shut up. Tell the belief to shut up. It's nonsense. And my second major thing is, and this relates, and that is moms, and this is true for dads, I'm convinced the number one job of a parent in this part-time job that we have is to instill or build character. That's it. That's our number one job. If you listen to my podcast at all, and I do this series on boundaries, and in fact, if you whichever software program you're using to access this podcast, just go in your search, do a search, usually like a magnifying glass symbol or something, and look for boundaries and listen to all the boundary stuff, and especially the one for parents. I'm convinced that character, as I talk a lot more about in that study, is the number one goal of parenting. It is not to make sure our children are happy. So let me be very clear. One of the ways you can be failing miserably as a mom, and it works for dads too, but I'm just on Mother's Day, I'm focusing on moms. One way where you can be failing them miserably is if you are not doing your best to instill character. And I talk a lot about this at the other study, so I won't regurgitate all that now. But for example, your children need to learn how to deal with reality. The demands of life are coming whether they are ready for it or not. Simple things, but profound things like, are you helping your children understand what the word responsibility means and why they have to become responsible citizens? Do your children know the basic teachings and ministry of Jesus? Do they know it or not? Can they recall anything Jesus ever thought or believed? Do your children have a basically healthy prayer life? Do your children know what moral values and duties are? Can they articulate? Now, it depends on their age, of course it does, but can they articulate? Do they know the difference between lying and not lying? I mean, things like that. Do they know all of these kinds of basic things that builds up a person's character? Because the character is that, as I understand it and as I define it, is amalgam. It's an amalgam, a complex combination of both the moral and intellectual qualities that make us up, that comprise us. And we use all that amalgam of that qualities inside of us to deal with reality. We process what happens in life. If your children want to have a job, they're going to need to learn responsibility and being honest and working hard and work ethic and so forth. And so that is your job. So here's an example that's very common where parents in general, and mothers more likely, it's more typically the mom more than the dad for different reasons. And your situation might be different. Where moms typically fail is that they think their number one goal is to make sure their children feel pleasure or feel happy, or at minimum not feel pain, not feel suffering. So they run to the child's aid instantaneously when any kind of heartache is experienced. Now, if you do this all the time, in psychology we call this, in transactional analysis, a rescuer. I know a lot of mamas who are rescuers. A lot of them. They cannot stand the anxiety on the inside that they feel when their children, or maybe even their spouse, feels a negative emotion. So what comes across typically is some kind of altruism, like, wow, she's so caring for you. Really, deep down, she's not caring. She can't process the anxiety she feels when someone else is upset. And since she can't process it correctly, she has to stop you from feeling the negative feelings so that she feels better. Now, there might be some degree of righteous motivation mixed in there, sure. My point here is, do not assume it's righteous behavior on your part either, Mom. Well, I just love them. Okay, but what does that mean? And if you love your children, it seems to me in the Christian worldview, it means you're going to stop at nothing to help instill good, solid, healthy Christian character inside your child. And you'll never stop attempting to do that. But the degree to which you do it, and maybe the manner in which you do it, does diminish. It's supposed to diminish over time. So the first thing is, yeah, you might be failing them, but overall you're probably not failing your child if you're a basically healthy, loving mom. But there are specific areas where it's common to fail our children, and one is not knowing what your job is as a mother. And your job is not to make sure your children are happy all the time. They're not your friends, they're not your buddies, they don't have to like you. You're supposed to be instilling character. So don't give up, Mom. If you're doing that, If you are working hard to instill character, you are doing an outstanding job. If your children aren't mad at you on a semi-regular basis, you're probably failing them. They need to be mad at you. They need not to get what they want all the time. If your children aren't mad at you often, it means, I guarantee you, somehow, for most children, you're raising narcissists. You're enabling the addiction of me-ism. So your children need to be looking at you sometime in disgust or say, I don't like you, or I hate you, or you're not my friend. And when that happens, just get a big smile on your face and just chuckle and go, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I'm such a good mom. I'm such a good mom that my child right now can't stand me and she slammed her door. In a second, we're going to talk about how you express your anger, because that's not how you express anger around here. You don't slam doors, but at minimum, I'm glad that she is angry with me, because that means she heard a word that will literally save her life. And that magic word is no. So if you're saying no to your children, they have good boundaries, and you're instilling character, you are on the right track and you're doing good work. Another thing I'd say about that is some moms really do obsess about failing their children. Really obsess about it. An obsession, of course, is a compulsive thought that repeats over and over and over. If you find yourself where you cannot stop doing that, you need to figure out where that comes from. And I would strongly encourage you to go into a license, or however you want to, a Christian counselor at least, and try to dive into that and tell your counselor, I suffer from a constant, you can say it your way or use this vocabulary, I suffer from a constant critical parent voice inside my mind that tells me that I'm failing my children, and it causes terrible anxiety and sadness and fear and anger or inadequacy, whatever feelings you have. And I need to figure out why that is. Why it is I can't shake it. And there can be all kinds of reasons why that's the case. Some parents, first point is, there's all kinds of reasons for that. And only a counselor in the moment can help you explore your reasons. One quick tip is, a very common one is, and there are maybe two major common ones I have experienced when counseling people. One is just a general sense of low self-esteem. That when the moms just don't feel very valuable, they don't love themselves, they reinforce that self-hatred, that self-loathing by criticizing themselves. And it feels good to be told I'm not good enough because I already believe it. The second major reason why moms typically suffer from that is because they learned it from their mom. Either their mom did it themselves, I know I'm horrible, I'm mad, or the mom was on top of them all the time. Every time they're around their mama, they're being criticized, and they start to believe it. There's all kinds of reasons why a person gets. So I really do encourage you, you do not have to spend the rest of your life as a mom feeling guilty all the time about how you're failing your children. You don't need to do that. You don't need to, you just don't need to. Now, if you want to, you can, and just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep obsessing. And then for a lot of people, they like obsessing about it. Not for everybody. They like obsessing because it gives them a lot of attention. They can just say it all the time. I know I'm bad. I know I'm horrible. And then when the husband or the child, no, Mom, you're great. It feels good to hear, no, Mom, you're great. And our brain produces dopamine, and it feels good. We go, I feel validated just for a moment. And so I can't stop saying I'm a horrible mom because they would stop praising me. But see, these are the things you can explore with a good counselor and figure out why it is you do what you do. But you don't have to change. I just encourage you to change, because that would be an unhealthy way to live the rest of your entire life, thinking you've somehow drastically failed your children because you're obsessing over and over and over. That's more about you and your obsession, not about reality. Here's another thing, mothers. A lot of moms don't know what to do depending on particular age groups. So some moms, for example, feel very inadequate with babies. They're like, man, just give me a teenager. I don't know what to do when I have diapers and stuff. I've met women who almost paralyzed. They don't know what to do with little babies. And some moms are exact opposite. As soon as they hit 4th grade or 5th grade, all of a sudden, I don't know what to do, or their puberty starts. I don't know who are these kids? I don't know how to be a mom anymore. That's very common. Very common. I'll think there's a stage in life where I don't know how to relate to them, and I have no idea, and I can't meet their needs, and so forth. To that, I would say, you're wrong that you can't meet their needs. You might be right that you don't feel and might not be adequate depending on the age group. Fine, but get over it. Don't sit there and obsess about over and over and over. It's so different. I used to be able to snuggle when he wanted to snuggle. Now he's older. He never wants to snuggle. I don't know what to do anymore. Okay, knock it off. There's certain things, Mom, that only moms can do, or things only you can do, and there are things that you can do the best. For example, if you are a mother, you can be the best example of what a godly woman looks like in your child's life. Think about that. Let that sink in. For the rest of your child's life, you will be the immediate go-to for what Christian woman looks like. That might scare you to death. It might encourage you. Well, think back on your life right now. Think about your life. When you think of your mom, do you picture your mom praying, reading her Bible devotional every day, talking about Jesus, or do you picture her never mentioning it ever? Do you picture her dragging you to church out of guilt? Do you picture her joyful? Do you picture her, you see, did your mom use scripture verses to help address real world issues? Well, that's what your child's going to do about you. Well, you have a phenomenal opportunity, a genuinely unique opportunity to help your child associate your image with failure with what a Christian mom's supposed to be. Yes, with failure. So get over yourself. They're going to fail. And then when your children see that too, just own it. You don't have to own it every single day. You don't need to be one of those women or people who walk around every single day. I know I'm miserable. I know I fail. You need to go to counseling for that, because that's a very different issue. All I'm saying is, in our normal, healthy senses, yeah, you're going to fail them. You can talk about when you're talking about how you failed. Great. Nevertheless, you still can be an outstanding example of what a Christian mother looks like. You can be. That is a phenomenal opportunity, no matter which age bracket they're in. It doesn't matter. You can still be an example of a Christian mom, whether they're in diapers or whether they're 18 years old. It doesn't matter. They need to see what a Christian mom looks like. A second major thing that is not unique to your role, but you have the strongest voice in this role, and that is, what does it mean to be a woman? And I mean woman, someone who is a woman, who identifies as a woman. What does it mean? What does it mean? That was one of the areas, and there are a few, one of the areas I learned so much from my own mother was what it meant to be a woman, what a woman goes through. All kinds of stuff. What it felt like to go through her first, not her first, but what it's like for women and girls and so forth when they start developing breast, when they go through their first menstruation. What's it like for women that go through menopause? What's it like if women have to have surgery on their bodies for various reasons that had to do with, whatever it might be, breast or genitalia and so forth. And that helped me tremendously. First off, that's not the kind of topic about which I would typically speak at a first date or a third date or ever date with a girl. What's it like for you when you develop breast? Well, one day when you develop them, I would... I should have brought that to my life, the first date. So tell me, what was it like for you? And just be, yes, yeah, good point. Same thing with me, yes. Yeah, I'm still waiting. But but my mom could bring that up. And yeah, it was a little weird, my mom brought it up, but not that weird because it's mom. So there are perspectives that you can bring, and information and data that you can bring that a father could tell, and I tell my children. I've told my son about that. I have told him about that, but I learned it from a woman. So bottom line is I learned it from a woman, and then I can explain it myself. But of course, there are certain things I still have to say, I'm not sure. Go ask your mom. So you are, again, in a profoundly special role to help them see what it's like to be a woman and how you experience the world. And that really does matter. And you can drop all the feminist stuff or raise up feminist stuff you want. It does matter what that boys and girls learn what it means to be an adult woman in the real world. Now, having said that, now, this might sound discouraging, but I mean as an encouragement. Think about that for a second. When your son or daughter looks at you as a mother, do they learn to worry? Do they learn that to be a mom and to be a woman means to worry? When they look at you, they say, this is what it means to be a woman. An adult woman is a person who makes fun of the way her butt looks. To be an adult woman means I have to dog myself. If you're not from America, that means to speak vituperations or evil things about the way you look. Is that what they learn? Is that what they're learning? If that's what you have taught them, you've got to stop. You've got to stop. In fact, if I were you, if that's what they learn from you, I would sit down with your child and say, you know what? You've heard me say these bad things about myself, and that was wrong of me. I should not have done that. I'm a child of God, a daughter of the King, and I should never have said that nonsense. And Lord knows you shouldn't either. You should never, ever, ever say that. So you're going to see a new mom. I'm not doing that anymore. Just own it and let them see, oh, that's what an adult woman, Christian woman does. They own things and apologize or whatever, and they need whatever word you want to call it, and they move on with life, and they actually do change. But they're going to learn from you what a Christian looks like, and of course what it means to act like and be like a woman. Now, yes, they are influenced by other women. Yes, they are. But ground zero is going to be your influence. And I know you know this already, but you probably do, and just to remind you, children, they pick up on your love and care and concern, even if they don't say it. Even if what they typically say is, Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, where's my shoes? Mom, where's my homework? Mom, hurry up, I'm going to be late. Mom, I hate you because you didn't give me pizza. Mom, where's my allowance? Even if they just come to you, and most children do, particularly toward the mom, they come to parents, particularly mom, in a need-based relationship. Well, yeah. They came into the world that way. And you taught them that was the way to relate to you. They cried and you fed them. They cried, you changed your diaper. They got sick, they got better, they got medicine, and so forth. So you taught them that it is perfectly appropriate to have a need-based relationship. Well, the only way for that to stop is for when they get older is to change it, is to help them change and steer the conversation to be able to discuss things with you without always needing something from you. And how do I do that? Well, David, how do I do it, David? Well, first off, you just say what I just said. Say it in your own vocabulary. Have the mom and daughter date, or around the kitchen table. It doesn't matter if you go out and spend any money at all. Just, I noticed, as you get older, let's talk more about what's going on in your world, in your life. I know, Mom, I don't want to talk about it. Well, no, we're going to talk about it. The point is, you control that conversation. And the earlier the better. If you've already screwed all that up, then start now. Start today. I mean, really. Don't ask questions to which the answer can be yes or no. Ask questions that explain. What was it like for you in school today? What was it like for you when your friend caught the winning pass? Whatever. Tell me more about so-and-so. And talk about it. Look at them in the face. Teach them that you put the phone down. You give them undivided attention and pay close attention. And they'll learn that it's not just need-based relationship. Not to mention, you can teach them that it's okay to be served. I'm going to pause right there. If you don't mind, please listen carefully to these quick announcements.
Ever wonder what God wants you to do with your money? Should I give it all away or save? What did the early church do with their money? In Dr. Pendergrass's book, Give It Away, Reflections on How Christians Use Money, you'll get 4 short, powerful lessons on what to do with money based on some key texts from the New Testament. This is a wonderful guide for study and reflection. It even comes with reflection questions that are perfect for small group discussions. Give It Away, Reflections on How Christians Use Money. Buy your copies today on Amazon.com. Do you know of any skeptics in your family, at work, or among your friends? Do you struggle with questions concerning the existence of God or the truth claims of Christianity? Has a skeptic ever challenged you with a difficult question concerning your faith? Then you need to buy Dr. Pendergrass's book, A Skeptic Challenges a Christian, on Amazon.com. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle or in audiobook form to listen to. A Skeptic Challenges a Christian is written unlike any other book. It's not boring and full of technical jargon. It reads like you're sitting down having a conversation. As one reviewer said, as a college student, I absolutely love this book. Dr. Pendergrass knows how to effectively answer a lot of the questions that my friends at school ask about my faith. This book is a great resource for theological debates and for my own personal growth. The arguments are clear and understandable. I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who has questions about Christianity, wants to learn how to defend their faith, or even just wants a good read. Great book. Find out why it has a perfect 5-star rating on Amazon.com. A Skeptic Challenges a Christian. Buy your copies today. Do you like receiving a glimpse of the kingdom for free? Would you like to support what God is doing through these resources? Then please consider donating to David Pendergrass Ministries, Inc. today at davidpendergrass.com. There, you can also sign up to receive Dr. Pendergrass's free blog on a wide range of theological, biblical, and relationship issues. That's davidpendergrass.com.
Okay, let's pick back up where we left off. One thing as well that I think about when it comes to motherhood, and fathers, it's true for fathers as well, but mothers tend to have a harder time on this. Most women are in the Myers-Briggs. If you're not familiar with Myers-Briggs type indicator, that's okay. I'm very familiar with it because I've taught it for years and studied it. But in general, one way that people process information is whether it's related to people or it's really not related to people. If you process information and store that data as associated with people, that's called a feeler type. If you prefer to process information and store it unrelated to people, like numbers and facts and figures, that's more of a thinker type. And so, and it doesn't mean feelers don't think, it doesn't mean thinkers don't feel. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what they do with their data, the information you gather from the world. Well, I've seen a few statistics, it's over 80% of women are feeler types, over 80% of men are thinker types. And that's why most of the time, most men prefer scores, the football game, or how much someone weighs, or numbers and science and physics, and why most of the time, not all the time, women don't prefer that stuff. They prefer who wore what dress and what date this thing was on, because dresses and clothes and dates and anniversaries are associated with people. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Nothing to do with intelligence. Very, very smart people. People with powerful memories can be feeler types. Dumb people can be thinker types. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Anyway, one thing though is, since feeler types, and there's another category, it's the S and N, the intuitive, and I'm not going to go into that right now, but my point is, I'm trying to skip over the Myers-Briggs talk, but it does matter a little bit to the discussion. I'm trying to make my case to you. That is, around 80% of women in the world, according to the studies I've read, are feeler types, which means you are more prone to personalize things. You are more prone to take things personally, because that's how you process the information. So if your children's if your child's having a bad day, and let's say he yells at you or she snaps you at the dinner table, you're more likely to take it personally. If you have a boundary with your child and the child gets frustrated with you, you're more likely to take it personally than a man is, just because that personality type. And it's not all the time, but in general, that's true. And one tip there is, first to say is, don't. I mean, just don't. But my tip is to encourage you is, that is a common thing. It's a common feature of most women and most mothers. The second thing is, if you have even a decently healthy marriage if you're married, or if you have any kind of male friends or whatnot, particularly if you're married to a man, you can also lean on the man and say, I'm serious, you ask him, did that hurt your feelings when she snapped at us? Did it hurt your feelings when he said blah, blah, blah to us? And the odds are very highly that the husband's going to say, no, not at all. And in these instances, most of the time, rule of thumb, I would trust your husband's gut. Go, oh, okay. This happens in my marriage often. My wife can get really down or have her feelings really hurt. Not all the time, but it surely can happen, depending on my child was snappy, particularly my daughter. That typically happens. The same sex, same gender tends to have much more effect on the same one. And so if my daughter is snappy about something, my wife tends to take it personally. If my daughter snaps at me, I just think she's crazy. I don't mean, literally spare me the emails. I just mean something wrong with her. It's not my problem. And in fact, if she's real rude, then we're about to have a conversation about how to express our anger. But I am perfectly comfortable with my children being mad at me. I'm fine with that, because I'm not their friend. That's not my goal. But all I'm saying is, if that's an area that's hard for you because you tend to personalize everything, then sometimes it's good to buffer it or to compare it, contrast it with someone who is not like you, someone who's not a feeler type, and say, from your perspective, did that hurt your feelings, or should I take that personally? And I'm just saying that a lot of times that's a good thing. And it works both ways. If this were on fathers, I'd say most fathers are thinker types. I would look at a female, and I've done this before, and say, was that insensitive, or did I miss something, or whatever, or what was your emotional take on that, or whatever it is. My wife is going to have an opinion. She'll have an opinion, and typically I trust her. It's a strength of hers. So I know I'm saying that's a way to rely upon someone else's strength for that. I'll wrap up. I'm not sure if you're still listening anyway, but I'll wrap up and say, mothers, really, don't give up. Please don't spend wasted energy convinced that you have overwhelmingly screwed up your child and it's irreparable. Children are very resilient. I'm so glad they are. And look, do the very best job you can. And that's not a throwaway phrase. I really mean do the best job that you can. Have you ever read a book on parenting ever in your life? Most moms haven't. Think about that. What other relationship conceivable is as powerful as a parenting relationship? And most mothers have never read a single book by specialists on parenting. Ever. They never listen to a lecture, a YouTube video. Those are free. I mean, anything. I'm glad you listened to my podcast. It might be a little start. David, I don't know what to read. Well, here's a book to start with. It's called Boundaries in Parenting, or Boundaries for Parents. I think it's called Boundaries for Parents. I will start with Boundaries for Parents. That'd be a good one. There's other issues, other books you can discuss that will cover wider issues than just boundaries. But it's a wonderful start. Boundaries, I think it's called Boundaries for Parents by Cloud and Townsend. Just get that one. Start somewhere. But I want to encourage you in this phenomenal chance relationship, do the best job that you can. And when you fail, accept God's forgiveness. If you fail your children in an overt way, then apologize to them. Apologize and then ask forgiveness and move on. But you can't sit there every single day dogging yourself. I know deep down somehow they're going to be just the next Jeffrey Dahmer. Somehow they're going to be some wretched. Nope. All you can do is the best job you can. And you need to do the best job you can. And by God's grace, you're going to do a great job. You're going to help build the character they need. So don't give up and give yourself a break. Give yourself grace. Encourage yourself. My goodness. Life is hard enough, not to mention beating yourself up all the time. So happy Mother's Day for those moms out there. For those moms that had a child and lost a child, you're still a mother. Your loved one is waiting for you in the world to come. So happy Mother's Day to you. A very, very happy, blessed Mother's Day. God bless. Wait, before you click stop on that podcast, you need to go to davidpendergrass.com and check out more information at davidpendergrass.com. Also, follow me on Twitter at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass, or follow me on Facebook. Go to Facebook and look up Glimpse of the Kingdom. Glimpse of the Kingdom. Do you have more questions for me? Theological questions, questions on relationships, counseling, whatever it might be, send me an email. Again, go to my website. You can contact me there, or even on Facebook, and I'll reach out to you just as fast as I can. God bless you.